Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, The Passing Away of Bhishma Dev, Text 44. Sampadyamanam agaya Bhishmam Brahmani Nishkale Sarve Babum Vuste Tushnim Vayam Shiva Dinatyaye Sampadyamanam agaya Bhishmam Brahmani Nishkale Sarve Bahuvuste Tushnim Vayam Shiva Dinatyaye Aya Nishkale Sarve Bahuvuste Tushnim Vayam Shiva Dinatyaye Sampadyamanam agaya Bhishmam Brahmani Nishkale Sarve Babhuviste Tushnim Vayamsi Dinayatyaye. Ladies. Sampadyamanam agaya Bhishmam Brahmani Nishkale Jai Babhuvistu Tushnim Vayam Siddhinayatyaye Sampadyamanam, having merged into agaya, after knowing this, Bhishmam, about Sri Bhishma Dev, Brahmani, unto the Supreme Absolute, Nishkale, unlimited, Sarve, all present, Babhuvu, Te, all of them became, Tushnim, silent, Vayamsi Iva, like birds, Dina Atyaye, at the end of the day. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Knowing that Bhishma Dev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. Please repeat. Knowing that Bhishma Dev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent like birds at the end of the day. So what do birds sound like at the end of the day? Silent. Yeah. You don't get much sound out of them. Purport. To enter into or become merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute means to enter the original home of the living being. Living beings are all component parts and parcels of the Absolute Personality of Godhead. And therefore they're eternally related with Him as the servitor and the served. The Lord is served by all His parts and parcels, as the complete machine is served by its parts and parcels. any part of the machine removed from the whole is no longer important. Similarly, any part and parcel of the Absolute detached from the service of the Lord is useless. The living beings who are in the material world are all disintegrated parts and parcels of the Supreme Whole, and they are no longer as important as the original parts and parcels. There are, however, more integrated living beings who are eternally liberated. The material energy of the Lord, called Durga Shakti, or the superintendent of the prison house, takes charge of the disintegrated parts and parcels, and thus they undergo a conditioned life under the laws of material nature. So if someone asks us who we are, we can always say, I'm a disintegrated part and parcel. When the living beings become conscious of this fact, he tries to go back home, back to Godhead. And thus the spiritual urge of the living being begins. The spiritual urge is called Brahma Jignasu, or inquiry about Brahman. Principally, this Brahma Jignasu is successful by knowledge, renunciation, and devotional service to the Lord. So, what are the three things that make it successful? What kind of service? Jnana or knowledge means knowledge of everything of Brahman, the Supreme. Renunciation means detachment of material affection, and devotional service is a revival by practice of the original position of the living being. The successful living beings who are eligible to enter into the realm of the Absolute are called Jnanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. The Jnanis and Yogis enter into the impersonal rays of the Supreme, but the Bhaktas enter into the spiritual planets known as the Vaikunthas. In these spiritual planets, the Supreme Lord as Narayan predominates, and the healthy, unconditioned living beings live there by rendering loving service to the Lord in the capacity of servant, friend, parents, and fiancé. There, the unconditioned living beings enjoy life in full freedom with the Lord, whereas the impersonalists, Jnanis, and Yogis enter into the impersonal glowing effulgence of the Vaikuntha planets. The Vaikuntha planets are all self-illuminating like the sun, and the rays of the Vaikuntha planets are called Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is spread unlimitedly, and the material world is but a covered portion of an insignificant part of the same Brahmajyoti. This covering is temporary, and therefore it is sort of illusion. Bhishmadev, as a pure devotee of the Lord, entered the spiritual realm in one of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord in his eternal form of Parasasarati predominates over the unconditioned living beings who are constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. The love and affection which binds the Lord and the devotee are exhibited in the case of Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev never forgot the Lord and his transcendental feature as the Parasasarati, and the Lord was present personally before Bhishmadev while he was passing to the transcendental world. That is the highest perfection of life. So the text again. Sampadyamanam agaya Bhishmam brahmani nishkale sarve babuvuste tushnim vayam siva dinatyaye. Knowing that Bhishmadev had merged into the unlimited eternity of the Supreme Absolute, all present there became silent, like birds at the end of the day. So birds at the end of the day have a similar sound to the sound of one hand clapping. So there's some similarities and analogies in certain philosophies. I don't think we've learned anything we haven't heard before. Oh, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vicharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharne. One thing we haven't completely learned is these three things, only three things. Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan, that's Brahman. Detachment from material existence, affection for material existence, and what does actually mean to render devotional service. So these are things we're supposed to learn. So it sounds quite simple, but they're very profound. Otherwise, when we hear the Bhishmadev merge into the eternity, we wonder, oh, poor Bhishmadev. What happened to him? He had so many nice relatives, the Pandavas, Krishna was there, and suddenly he emerged. And we never heard of him again. Got lost in eternity. But that's not what this is explaining. That real life begins when we merge into eternity. Not like the Gyanis, or the Yogis, or the Karmis, but, well, the Karmis don't merge into eternity. But just like Bhishmadev merged into eternity, going back to the spiritual world, where the activities are inconceivable to our present experience. Otherwise, if we try to equate our present experience with what's going on in the spiritual world, then we'll never want to go back to the spiritual world. So we have to, as we don't understand perfectly that we're not this body, so we don't perfectly understand at all what's going on in the spiritual world. We think if so many living entities are there serving Krishna, it must be quite boring. Serving Krishna prasadam every day. Here's your dal rice and chapatis. Now I can go back to sleep. No, it's inconceivable. Just as it's inconceivable how Krishna can be in everyone's heart, directing our wanderings, fulfilling our material desires, and giving us intelligence how to go back to our spiritual position, which includes our spiritual identity and our spiritual service. And detachment from this misconception that the material world is a place of enjoyment. As it says here, that this material world is just a covered portion of the Brahmajyoti. Now, most of us, after being in devotional service for a little while, we're not looking for the time when we can merge into Brahman, merge into the light, and become peaceful. So, but somehow or another, this Brahmajyoti that from the Vaikuntha planets, but that we're existing in now, covered by illusion, we're attracted to. We think it's something that's substantial. Brahman is substantial because this energy is eternal. Material nature, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 different subject matters in the Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara, who's Krishna, there's the jiva, the living entity, there's prakriti, there's material nature, there's kala, time, and then there's karma. So out of the 5, 4 are eternal. Ishvara, jiva, prakriti, and kala. So the material nature is eternal, it's just taking different forms, gross and subtle. But it's all coming from Brahman, transformed into mind, intelligence, and false ego, and earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Now, if you're walking down the street and you found a bag full of earth and water and fire and air in a certain shape, you wouldn't think, let me take this home with me. You'd probably leave it on the street. But in the material world, due to illusion, if the bag has a certain form, then we think, let me take it home with me. That's illusion. Similarly, when we're chanting Hare Krishna, for instance, some thoughts go through our mind and we take them as important. Thoughts about the material existence. What am I going to eat today? Will my enemy get me or will I get my enemy? Does she love me? She loves me not. So many thoughts go through our minds, and we take them as important, more important than hearing about Krishna. Especially if someone's chanting that we don't like, then we kind of look for some excuse not to hear them. Because we don't like to hear from people we don't like. Doesn't matter what they're saying. Unless they come up to us and say, Prabhu, I'm sorry, I'm surrendered to you. I'm yours from now on. Whatever you want, I'm your slave. No, we don't. That we hear. Everything else we're not so much interested in. What people will give us, either on the gross platform or on the subtle platform, we're interested in hearing about. And if they're not going to give us anything, we don't. They could disappear from into eternity. We couldn't care less. And if they're against us, then we will help them disappear into eternity. But these are all products of illusion, because Krishna has arranged the material world in such a way that everyone has their purpose to serve Krishna. And even our enemies are helping us become Krishna conscious. Those who are our friends, they're helping us become Krishna conscious. They should be helping us become Krishna conscious. That everything is under Krishna's control, and He's controlling this illusory energy to give us our mental concoctions, which we think are valuable here. Of course, it also says in the Bhagavad Gita, there's one thing we can desire. Karmasya nendriya pritira labho jivata yavata jignasya tattva jignasya narto yascheha karmavi. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life, so that we can desire a healthy life as much as possible, or self-preservation. Therefore, Krishna never says, chant your rounds with attention, and even if you're crossing the street, don't look both ways. That's offensive. Inattentive chanting. Of course, while we're crossing the street, chanting our rounds, that's another thing. Or driving the car. Driving the car, click, click, Hare Krišna, Ram, Ram, click, click, Ram, Ram, click, click, day, 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 day. No, neither when we're driving the car, we should concentrate on the driving. Or else we'll merge into eternity a lot quicker than is desirable. And if we're chanting, then we should concentrate on the chanting. You can't do both. You can't chant, pay attention to the road and everything that's going on, and at the same time, pay attention to the holy name. So it's one or the other. Either drive with attention or chant with attention. But don't do both. Because either you'll commit offenses when you're chanting, or you'll probably do both. Be offensive chanting and crash the car. If it's not your car, then it's not so bad. Someone else's car, you might get a little disturbed. Therefore, similarly, when we're doing our sadhana, just the real challenge is forget about everything else. Just do the sadhana. And even if we lose all our money in the bank, even if our wife leaves us, or our girlfriend or our boyfriend leaves us, whatever, even if we were assigned to clean the bathrooms that day, it's all right. If you're merged in Krishna consciousness, everything will be all right, no matter what happens in the material world. After all, at the end of the day, no matter what we do here to make the material world better, it all gets destroyed at the end. It's all zero. So our attempts to make things better, except we should try to be healthy. Healthy usually means don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. One who's regulating his habits of eating, sleeping, work, and recreation can mitigate all the material pains by the practice of the yoga system. So we don't want to distract ourselves at this particular stage. So we should try to do things that avoid unnecessarily pain or anxiety. Otherwise, we become distracted, and it's extremely difficult when we're not very advanced to concentrate on both our pain and Krishna consciousness. Although in a more advanced stage, pain will help us concentrate even more upon Krishna. But that means we have to practice concentrating on our minds upon Krishna, even in the midst of some discomfort. And then when the discomfort increases, then we're already practiced in trying to concentrate our minds more upon Krishna, as getting rid of the pain at least. Rather than pop a pill, which will eventually cause us usually more pain in the future, to concentrate on Krishna. And of course we should try to remove the cause of our suffering. If we step on a nail, we shouldn't just pick up our japapis and start chanting. It's a good idea to take the nail out first. Just practical. But while we're taking the nail out, we should also chant Hare Krishna. In any case, Bhishma Dev is lying on the ground. He has arrows throughout his body. And Krishna is there. Now the Pandavas didn't tell Bhishma Dev, don't go, grandfather. We like the way you are. Just stay here. No, they were actually happy that Bhishma Dev had now quit this body, which was not in a very good condition, so they could go back and be with Krishna in a spiritual body, which is full of bliss, full of knowledge, eternity. And that's what Krishna told Arjuna at the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. That even if you kill your grandfather, that you'll be doing him a favor. He'll get a new body, a better body, a spiritual body perhaps. So this is the instruction at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna is omniscient. He knows what's going to happen. And therefore he was priming Arjuna for the time when he was going to literally kill Bhishma Dev. But that killing of Bhishma Dev was a great benediction for Bhishma Dev. Otherwise he'd still be here in Kali Yuga, and no one would take him seriously. I say, where are you from? Well, I'm from Dwapara Yuga. Really? Where's that? What part of Slovenia is that? So it's not like this material world is such a wonderful place that one should stay here and look to the future where everything's going to be perfect, because the scientists were going to give us a wonderful world of electricity. When I went to the World's Fair, and when I was younger, 10 years old, it was, I think in New York somewhere, they had GE, General Electric, showing us how, you were there? What's that? Yeah, maybe I saw you there. You look familiar. And I had all these things about how the whole world is going to, especially America, is going to be paradise with all this electricity. Plug in your toaster, your microwave oven, and your radio and whatever else, and just sit back and you'll be in heaven. This is a dream. I once saw a James Bond movie, and James Bond was with his girlfriend on this bed, and the alarm clock went off, and the bed tilted over, and they both slide off into the swimming pool. And then they swam to the end, and then there was a roller as it dried them off. I mean, this is the dream. You do nothing, and until nature just takes care of you. until a machine comes along, opens your mouth, puts the food in, and moves your mouth. The dream. Sense gratification, no effort whatsoever. And we can see with following that dream, people become so weak, their health has become so poor, their minds have become so disturbed. So where is the dream? It's a nightmare. Just a misdirection. Some fool have come up with this dream, and other fools are following it. But Bhishma Dev, he fought on the battlefield, fought many wars, as said before, but in Krishna consciousness, and therefore he's eligible to go back to the spiritual world, and maybe he fights with Krishna there too, as Parasarthi, or maybe he's with Krishna fighting against someone else. In any case, it's glorious. He gave up this material existence, which is more or less just an illusion. It's like you run out to the mirage in the desert, and you buy a house there. And you think, I have a house. And then some illusory lady comes and says, would you like to marry me? Of course. Fill up the house. And then someone says, sir, wake up, it's a mirage. Go away, while you're spoiling my dream. This is what I always wanted. So Bhishma Dev left and went to a reality. There's nothing better than going back to the reality. And there's nothing better than trying to come into the reality. And as it says in the Bhagavatam, that there's nothing more distracting or worse in the material world than to think that there's something superior to Krishna consciousness. That's the worst idea that you can possibly have. Even when we go to hell, there's in the nectar of devotion, there's a devotee praying to Krishna, I'm suffering like anything, but at least I can remember you here. Obviously in hell, he's not looking around, trying to find something so easily. It's so easy to find something to enjoy in hell. But here we think that there's something enjoyable, some situation that I'll actually find some peace and happiness. But it doesn't exist. But it can exist even in this moment if we concentrate our minds on Krishna and devotional service and give up our affection to material illusion. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments?
So we can't understand Krishna and what's happening in spiritual world, but on the other side, we should read and inform ourselves about something that we can't really understand. So what's perspective here?
No, we can understand to some degree. We can experience. There's thinking, there's feeling, and there's willing. So hearing is the first, then feeling. Hearing, chanting is feeling, and then willing to serve Krishna. Remembrance. So those things should be there. We should chant so nicely that we can actually feel Krishna's presence, and that's the beginning of our actual consciousness of Krishna. Of course, hearing, we become conscious of Krishna with our intelligence, and when we chant, we should become conscious of Krishna with our minds. And then when we become conscious of Krishna with our minds, then we should become inspired to utilize our senses in Krishna's service too. And then we'll always remember Krishna and never forget him. So here we're practicing to merge into Krishna consciousness even in this lifetime. Even now, right now we can do it. We don't have to wait. Therefore it says that there are 5 powerful processes of devotional service: chanting Hare Krishna, hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, hearing about Krishna through those means, worshipping the deities, living in a holy place, converting our minds into a holy place, and serving the devotees. These are 5 powerful processes that even by concentrating our mind to some degree on these 5 powerful processes, then one can experience bhava, or loving ecstasy for Krishna. So it's possible even right now. Therefore it says, Esha Brahmasiti Partha, Ovihaya Kamayak Sarvam, Pumam Sharati Nispriha, Nirmamo Nirhankara, Seshanti Madhigachiti. Or even before that. Apuryamana Machala Pratishtam Samudram Apapavishanti Yadvat, Tadvat Kamayam Pravishati Sarve, Seshanti Matnoti Nakama Kami. So if we join the side of the light, Krishna consciousness, rather than the side of the darkness, sense gratification, then when the desires, if we're hearing nicely and chanting nicely, serving nicely, then there'll be some reservoir of Krishna consciousness that will be immersed in, so that when the undesirable material desires for sense gratification come, we won't be distracted to go from the ocean of nectar into the mirage of illusion. And gradually, vihaya yaksaravam pumam starti nispriha, nirmamo nirhankara sashanti madhigachiti. Then we can give up our desires for sense gratification. We can live free from all these mental concoctions. We can give up our false sense of proprietorship and give up our false ego, identify ourselves as the servant of Krishna. And then vihaya, then Esha Brahmasiti Partha, Nayam Prapi Vimuyati, Stitvasyamantikalepi, Brahma Nirvana Richite. Then that is the way of spiritual and godly life, after attaining which man is never bewildered, and being so situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So if we practice like that, at any time we can actually become completely liberated. The more serious we become, the more liberated we become. There's no barrier. There's no obstacle, except for our I guess, lack of experience of what a valuable opportunity we have, and that sometimes we don't take it so seriously. But if we just practice and hear and get inspired to practice more seriously, then the goal will be reached much quicker. Is that right? Anything else? When I hear the clock, then I know everyone's meditating deeply. Tushnim. It sounds like the birds at the end of the day. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande.